Hi! So you're here to find out how to do short rows, specifically German short rows. This is a technique in knitting that we use to shape our pieces. On this small lace section here, you can see it's much deeper on this end than it is over here, and that's because we've done some short rows. And we use these to shape our knitting. A short row just means basically we're only knitting a part of the row, and then we turn around in the middle of the row and we come back again. Not always the middle, but wherever your pattern specifies. So for here, we've gone back and forward, we've only really knitted this deeper part here, and we get a shape. Now, there's lots of different ways to do short rows, and today we're just going to talk about German short rows. Usually these use a double stitch to turn your knitting. So your pattern will say knit to a certain point, turn, and then make a double stitch and come back again. So let's look at how we make these double stitches. We'll get started here. We're going to pretend that we have a pattern, and we'll go perhaps 2/3 of the way along this row. To about here. Okay, so we've got to the point in the pattern that it says turn, and you really just do that, just turn. Don't do anything special, just turn. Now your yarn is at the front of your work, and we're going to keep it here. We're going to slip the first stitch on the left needle. Make sure it's purlwise, you don't want to twist this stitch, so we're going to slip it purlwise. And then we're going to take this working yarn and lift it over your needle all the way around to the front, and we're going to tug tight. So this has pulled the stitch that you just slipped so tight that you can see both legs of the stitch that was on the row below. And the top of your stitch is actually over here as a little loop. And that is a double stitch. That's all it is. So we're going to keep the yarn at the front because we're on a purl side. And we're going to purl along. Choose any point. Let's say here. Okay, so we've got to the next part of the pattern and it says turn again. So we're going to turn. This time, because we've come back to the right side of the fabric, the yarn is at the back. We want this at the front. So bring your yarn to the front, slip the first stitch on your left needle, purlwise, and now your yarn is still at the front. We're going to take that up and over, tug it round to the back, and that pulls the stitch below the one you just slipped tight. Now when you do this on the right side of your fabric, it always distorts this stitch slightly because of the angulation of the stitch. Don't worry, that's going to sort itself out. So you can see the little loop at the back here, which is the top of your stitch, and this is a double stitch. Now you would just follow your pattern every time it says make a double stitch or turn and then make a double stitch. That's all you do. Make sure you start with your yarn at the front, bring it up and over your needle to pull this stitch tight. But what do you do once you've done all those double stitches? Well, let's go back along this way to find the one that we did first. So we're knitting and knitting and knitting, and then all of a sudden we get to this very strange stitch. The needle won't go in there. Oh, it's a very strange collection of yarn here. That is your double stitch from the other side. We've got some sun issues here, I do apologise. For your double stitch, you want to resolve this by knitting it as if it was just one stitch. So you're going to put your right needle in through both legs underneath. You're basically going in between the stitches that you made. Wrap your yarn as usual. Oh, there we go. And slip it off. So you have your double stitch, which you don't really see, and we can keep working along this row. And we'll go all the way to the end. Let's have a look. Now it's hard to see here because we've only done 2 very short rows, but we do have an extra little bubble of fabric right round about here. We still have 1 double stitch left over on this side though, so let's go back and resolve that one too. The edge of this swatch has 2 knit stitches, and then we're purling for the wrong side. Now just keep working. Sometimes you can mark these double stitches with stitch markers if you're worried that you're going to miss one. There's always a little bit of a hole between the double stitch and the next stitch as well. But here we've managed to reach this very odd collection of yarn. We've got 2 stitches that look like they're connected and a bump over on this side. That is your double stitch. So we're going to, yarn at the front, we're going to go in both legs of this stitch and purl it together as one, and we'll go to the end of the row and we'll have a look. So we can see this small area here where we have some extra stitches that we don't have on either end of the swatch, because this is where we did our double stitches, short rows. But the double stitches, because we don't have a wrap and turn, we don't really have a hole, and these double stitches are almost invisible. It's a handy technique to have in your toolkit. And these are German short rows, so you don't need to be scared of them. They're not so difficult as they seem. Happy knitting!